Well, you join us on a very hot evening here in downtown Salt Lake City.
And a very hot day.
Yeah, today's a warm one.
I know, which is terrible because last week was fantastic.
I know, last week was pretty great.
Yeah, last week was good. This week I also work in an air-conditioned building, so this week I also don't have to endure that.
I operate in a very small air-conditioned, you could call it a building or a room, a movable room.
Yours has to remain at a certain temperature, though, I'm assuming. Because
It does.
At least the back portion of it, right?
No, I have to keep the van running, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to step out of bound right now and say, fuck you
Why?
for your air-conditioned room.
Hey, you did this to yourself.
Oh, I know. Everything that I have happening right now is 100% my fault.
Sounds like it's going well, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, it was really weird. Today, between 4 and 6, I got 5 people contacting me almost 20 minutes back to back for stuff, which was
very nice.
I had nothing planned for, I had 2 jobs planned for the next 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, half my schedule's filled up. It was really weird. Apparently, everybody was in sync.
Wow.
Does the audience know what you do?
Yes, the audience does. We did talk about it in the first one, but if you are now new to the podcast, I run... Welcome, yes. Please subscribe and stay longer.
Exactly.
I own a company that effectively does many different car things, primarily detailing. So, but I also sometimes branch out and do, for instance, I'm actually helping a previous boss of mine on Thursday, which is one of the people that called me, get a old truck back up and running.
Travis?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep. So he has an old natural gas F-150 that's been sitting for about 3 years that he's like, show up, get the damn thing to run, clean it up enough to sell it.
Nice. But if you also had people coming up to you saying hey, there's a Porsche 928 or something that I found on KSL in Ely.
I mean, provided cost, I'm willing to do anything.
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yes. I have actually done...
You'll do anything, huh?
Oh, boy. Okay, sorry.
$20 $20, am I right?
Yeah.
We need to go backwards. Jordan's mind is already in the gutter, ladies and gentlemen. But...
Sorry, I already been drinking whiskey.
Yeah, I know.
Same here.
It's the whiskey talking now. Anyways, but yes, I would definitely do that. I have done that for a couple people. Gone up and inspected a car... primarily more odd ones, not just
Would you give
ones.
a PPI?
Kind of. I basically tell them I can't give a full PPI right now because I don't have a lift or anything.
Lift helps.
Yes, very much. But I can give kind of a general running condition. So, if it runs and drives, we can take it out for a test drive. I can feel probably 75% of what's going on.
Sure. And then the other 25% is getting under it and looking to see what rust there is.
Mm-hmm. And I can even do...
control arms are connected.
Yes, exactly. And some of that can even be done on the ground.
Of course, yeah. Or through your drive.
Yeah, really the up on the lift is effectively double-checking everything because even some cars may have bad ball joints and you might not even feel them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because once weight's on it, it kind of helps it stay in one place.
It can solidify a ball joint for sure.
Exactly. So, yeah, anyways, welcome. That's, a recap on me.
Exactly. Okay, so we were trying to think of something to talk about today.
I actually have something because we mentioned it last week.
What did we talk about?
Tickets.
Speeding tickets?
Speeding tickets. Because remember, we talked about your...
Oh, you haven't actually given your your bio, kind of.
Yeah, because it never was we never did do your
because
story.
It was supposed to be on your week, but then you showed up randomly.
Don't put this on me.
So,
that is.
I was invited. Okay,
that is Justin's anthem, is putting things on other people
all the time. No, it was fantastic, but you showed up, and so I was ousted till the next. Well, apparently today
until Monday
or
Tuesday. Sorry, happy Tuesday, everybody.
Yes, exactly. So, I'll give it a little bit of bio then. So. We'll kind of start with two things, my general history and my car history, which are pretty much entirely intermingled. So I've been a car fan ever since I can remember, although I haven't been doing car and automotive related media like Gavin has for many years. That's a more recent transition. I have been tinkering with cars since I was probably about 8 or 9 with my dad, fixing small things and kind of always wanting something more. I didn't really start getting into cars until I was 14, which would have been around 2009, 2010-ish, and started to watch Top Gear and YouTube videos, like very early days of Matt Farah, and, just really getting into the scene, as it were. And I received, at 14, actually, at that age, my very first car, which was an Isuzu iMark that was dragged out of the backyard of somebody that had left it dying, and tried to tinker and get that work. It never worked, so we junked it. And we talked about this a little bit last time, just a tiny bit. But my real first car was a 1989 Mazda MX-6. So a sort of not really sports coupe. It was really not fast. It sounded great. It had a great naturally aspirated 2.2 liter 4-cylinder that had a good growl to it. Didn't move anywhere very fast, but it just had a good noise. And it was a 4-speed slush box with weird manual shifting abilities that would lock it into any gear so I could start it in fourth. But we had so much damn fun with that car. It wasn't even funny. I mean, I put probably about 15,000 miles on that, which for a high school car is pretty good, especially since my high school was half a mile away. So, I mean, all that was other driving pretty much. And that one blew a motor. We put a new motor in it. And then eventually I ended up going on an extended vacation, which in this part of the world is known as an LDS mission, for about 6 months. That's an entirely different story, which we won't touch on. But I sold the car to do that because I was planning on being gone longer. And at that point, my parents bought a Ford Focus. I drove that as I got back. But the first actual car that I purchased as my big boy self was a 1991 Audi 200 20-valve Avant, which, a little tiny backstory, if I had to pick two cars that I would have never gotten rid of, it was that and then the hope to reunite myself with the Stinger one day.
Yeah, big mistake selling that Avant.
It is. No, and I 100% admit it. At the time, my thought process was, okay, it's old. There's a few things that I don't know. It was still running great. I was still daily driving it, and it didn't have any signs of blowing up or anything, but there were still a few things I didn't know about, which ironically, about 2 months after I sold it, it dropped an exhaust valve.
Oh, no.
So I avoided that.
Ooh.
But the reality is there's only about 174 of those in the States. Very rare car.
Wow. I knew that they were rare. I didn't realize that there was that little of them in here.
So there was more of those bodies. So they had from 89 to 91, they had the 200 wagon, which they imported a couple thousand of, probably about 3,000 total. Okay. What made that car special is the fact that it had the dual overhead cam 20-valve motor paired with the wagon. That's what made it the one of 174.
Right.
Okay.
But even if you counted all the sedans and wagons with that setup,
those were NA or were they turbo?
No, those were turbo.
Oh, very cool.
So
very
same
cool.
engine that's in my current Audi, but effectively just an earlier version, distributor and
2.2.
You still have it? I thought you got rid of that Audi.
Oh no,
You got rid of the.
I got rid of the
S6
S6 wagon.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
we'll kind of get there covering
Okay.
that in a minute.
Yeah,
So I had that car for, it was a year and a half, many good times, did a few things on it, but really never had major problems and got good gas mileage. And it was a nice, comfortable family wagon that was very large. The amount of stuff we could fit in that trunk on band gigs was absolutely phenomenal.
Which is funny because you and I actually have similar humble beginnings in wagons with
The Outback.
with the Outback XT. Yeah. Exactly.
Turbocharged wagons nonetheless.
Exactly.
Yep. I think the only main difference besides like age and make is mine was manual, yours was auto.
It was auto, and I still miss it though.
Yeah. No, I get it. There's some nostalgia. I miss the MX-6.
I mean, for
regardless.
me, the death of that car definitely came at honestly kind of a good time. Hindsight in 2020, it was a good time just to start over.
Yeah.
I was definitely turning a new leaf at that time, anyways,
Mhm.
with some other things in life. I do miss it though, and which the funny thing was after we got rid of it, I saw a black one. So mine was the silver with the two-tone.
Yeah.
I did see a manual black one that was for sale for like 10, and it had like engine work already done, and it might have been like some like stage 2 thing, and it had sat nav, and it was
Oh wow! So it was fairly done.
well, like aftermarket sat nav.
Yeah.
But still.
No, I get you. Yeah. So what the culmination of getting rid of that car came with me finding the S6 wagon that I had for over 3 years. And my thought process at the time was a newer vehicle. I did enough research to know that those early Audi V8s, the belt-driven ones, not the timing chain ones that everybody loves to squawk about, were pretty reliable as long as the belt was done.
Right.
I overpaid for it. I paid at the time, I think it was... Well, I should say this. I bought it from a dealership. It's one of only 3 cars and the only used car I've ever bought from a dealership. And I think after everything was said and done, it was like 11.5. Which that's after licensing and all that stuff.
Oh,
so the
okay.
actual purchase price was, I think, $9,800.
Okay. That's not
Um,
terrible.
not terrible, but definitely like at that point it was pretty much equal with what it was worth. But they've since finished depreciating.
Yeah. Right.
So then it became not what it was worth. Really quick.
Yep.
And a month after I got that, I sold the 200 to a guy in Tennessee, which I've still been trying to get a hold of for years to buy it back, but he's since dropped off the face of the planet, even with his phone number, which I've still verified as his. But
Have
kind
you
of
just straight up called him
many times.
and he just declines?
Just
Where in
doesn't answer.
Tennessee
It
does
just
this guy
rings
live?
out to voicemail every time, but it still has his voicemail, so I know it's not like changed numbers.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's whatever.
And it's
But
not- and
Where
it's
does
not
this guy
like-
live?
and
in
I
Tennessee?
believe it's Tennessee. Yeah.
No, but where in Tennessee?
Are you gonna go find him?
I'm thinking.
I have his
I'm
a-
thinking.
hey,
I'm thinking
hey.
Exhibition to Speed road trip.
No, here's the
Oh,
interesting
for
thing.
sure. Yeah, that'd be dope.
Justin
So-
gets reunited.
Yes.
Yes, that would be cool.
Yes.
But here's the thing. The interesting thing is we did an obvious bill of sale, so I actually have his, at the time, street address. I don't know if he still lives there. That's an entirely...
Is he
who
an older
knows?
gentleman?
No, he was about our age.
Oh, okay.
He's,
so
he's
that-
about
that-
25.
So he
Yeah,
really
he definitely
could be.
doesn't live there anymore.
No.
If he's anything like me.
I don't know.
Or
He was,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
He
no.
was he already had a
25
pretty
kids.
solid... No. He had him and his...
No, Jordan, it's not Utah.
That's
Come on.
yeah.
I know,
bad.
right?
My bad. Not Utah. You're right.
He had him and his fiance and already a pretty solid engineering job. So I know he owned the house. It wasn't a rental. So it may still be there. Who knows? Anyways, so he bought it, took it back there, and I was left with just the Audi. Which pretty much immediately I realized had more problems than I thought, although it was running.
Talking about the S6, right?
The 2003 C5 S6.
Okay.
Hello. I'm gonna edit that.
Is the
bit
alcohol
out.
tarking?
I'm gonna edit that bit out. We're talking about the S6 wagon with the 4.2 V8.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 5-speed automatic.
So I actually got to drive that car.
Yes.
And the funny thing about that car, it considering how far in front of the front axle the motor was, it
Yes.
handled shockingly flat.
Yes.
The turn-in was what you'd expect from an Audi.
Fairly numb.
Yeah, well, that's just the communication, but the
Yeah.
actual turn-in and the actual rotation of the car was typical Audi, but the actual roll and the actual, lean of the car was very, very flat, and I was shocked, honestly. There's a video on my personal Instagram about that.
Yeah, and actually there was, even when Fifth Gear reviewed that, because I couldn't find a Top Gear review, but there is a Fifth Gear review on YouTube floating around.
Did
And
Tiff drive that car?
Tiff drove that car, and he did a demonstration figure 8 with it.
Well, Tiff is a
'cause
fucking
he's-
mad
because he's a
lad.
Tiff.
Tiff is fantastic. I try to be like him, honestly.
Yeah, and he was just
he is goals.
he was explaining that at the time in 2003, nobody really made a comparable wagon. You had Mercedes wagons, but they weren't powerful like that.
At that time,
At 2000,
No,
I
definitely
think.
not.
didn't they have the 5.5 liter supercharged? Wasn't the E55 a thing in 2003? I feel like it was a thing.
We're gonna verify this live right now
And
because I'm curious.
I'm definitely gonna cut this one short.
That's fine.
I'm gonna cut out the. We're not actually broadcasting live, which is fantastic.
Oh yeah. Okay, here we go. E55. Looks like 2005 was the E55.
Okay, I would call that within the same era.
The reason why this review was 02 when that car came out, though.
So it was a solid 3 years before the E55 came out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No idea. No.
Yeah.
So,
And it's not like there was an E39 M5 that was out.
yeah,
Wagon.
there was touring packages you could get, but I
Not for the M5
not for the
though.
no.
There was a
Exactly.
540.
Mhm.
You can buy the 540 in a stick, but those
Yep.
are rare too. Trust me, I've tried to find them.
I know they're difficult, but so anyway, so when I bought that, that was the first generation of Audi where they changed from the older square body styles to the newer swoopy ones with the B5, C5 era,
Yeah.
and the D2, and they also did a ton of engineering changes, and that's when they got a lot more complex and a lot more expensive.
Well, the MMI started to come out at that time,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
which is the same system that was used in the Gallardo. It's the same system they used in Audis for even until after my dad's TTS.
Oh yeah, no,
Because my dad's a 2013. And
they
it
beat
was-
that horse dead.
Yeah.
So, with that car, those cars have common problems. I mentioned the timing belt. That was the first thing I did when I bought it, was a whole timing belt kit. And keep in mind as well,
Yeah.
this and the Audi 200 were the first two cars that I ever wrenched like internal engine on.
Gotcha.
I yanked an engine out of the Mazda, but never took anything apart beyond that. It was just drop in a new one, call it a day. So, did those, did the whole suspension on that thing, front brakes, tires, because the tires were literally bald when I bought it, wheels. Then, fast forward about 6 months after I had been doing all this and, breaking my bank, I decided that some friends and I needed to go to California. We planned a trip, and then it fell through. It was set for September of 2015.
Yeah.
And then randomly, because I had a friend in high school that had one of these, I found a car for sale on the East Coast in Boston.
Oh, yes.
This is the car that has become what I am more known as, besides the Stinger guy more recently. But
Yeah. Not as broadly, though.
not, there's, I think
With people that are closer to you, yes. But
most definitely.
you are a Saab man.
Yes. So in high school, I had a friend with a Saab 900, and I fell in love with it. But I had never really dreamed of owning one until I randomly found this one listed on a site called Saabnet, which is just a forum, and it was for sale in Boston with fairly high but unknown miles.
Is Saabnet still around?
Mm-hmm.
And active?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes.
Rad.
The Saab community is a very weird one.
Yeah.
They haven't moved much to Facebook.
That's honestly probably for the better, anyways.
Dave, who was it? Raul? No,
Pecoraro?
it was Pecoraro had a rant on that actually the other day on Facebook, which is very well
Ooh.
founded about how Facebook has kind of killed the forums.
Oh, it definitely has.
It definitely
Because
has.
everything has moved to Facebook. Because everyone uses Facebook.
Which, good point, Dave. Very good point. I loved reading it. And effectively, his point was,
I want to go find it later.
yeah, the
I'll go
sucky
read
thing
it.
about Facebook is that you cannot back search or make a big thread like you can with forums. It's just posts.
Right.
So, anyways, that was a great point. Anyways, so I found this car, and this is after I'd already gotten time off, had everything planned, had money set aside for this. And so I was like, what the hell? I'll call this guy. Called him up and spent about 2 hours talking about the car with him. The car was,
2 hours with someone you've never met.
yes.
Someone you just called to ask about a car that he's selling. 2
Best
hours
friends
later.
for life.
I still text him occasionally and send him pictures of the car.
Saab owners, man. I'm telling
Dude,
you.
I've become like super good friends with the person that I bought my R32 from.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, for also other reasons, because he's like he manufactures guitar strings,
Yeah.
but he's local here, and him and
I actually saw your car a
No.
couple months ago. Yeah.
Does it have gold wheels?
Not that I saw. I saw it in traffic. I was behind it. I have a
Okay.
photo on my phone somewhere. I was 1,000% certain that it was yours.
Well, that's fine, because there was another buddy of mine that had another black one in town just like it, and it had the R32 badge on the front grille, and it said it was in gold.
Yeah.
And it had gold wheels.
Huh.
I want to say I got in front of it eventually, and I recognized the front end, and I was like, "That's fucking Jordan's car."
Yeah, but because his didn't have the Bozer hood like mine did.
Yeah, no, this one did.
Well, see, I've
Yeah, see, yeah. It's painful. It
dude,
sucks.
I've been like longing for the day that I see that thing in traffic, and
Yeah.
I have since I sold it, I have yet to see it. I was like,
I
damn,
saw it
dude, did
on-
this
it
guy
was
like
on-
sell it or move? Like, what the hell?
It was on I-15 between 600 South and 600 North.
Well, at least I know it's still on the road. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No joke.
Because
It wasn't ruined.
The amount of time that I owned it,
I mean, I
didn't
can't
have the timing chain
imagine.
done.
I can't imagine there's another one that's exactly like your old car.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that was done to it's not hard to replicate. But
No.
I mean, granted,
It's
it'd
just
be
the
hard to
chances-
replicate the wheels because the wheels that were on are discontinued now. But
Yeah.
other than that, I mean,
Anyways, back to Justin.
Right. Yes. Sorry.
So found this Saab on the other side of the country.
It's a 900 turbo SPG.
1988. The quick backstory of it: bought brand new with a husband and wife that had identical cars in 1988. They owned it till 95, sold it in 95 to the second owner, who then sold it in 2002 to the guy I bought it from. So
So the car currently, and I want to just talk about miles for a second. It's 300 plus.
here's
Is it
where
closer to 400 now?
no, it's 300, probably still around the 340. I haven't driven it much in the past 2 years.
Okay, so who do you think has put the most miles on it, the first or second owner?
I believe it was the first owners because they did a
Awesome.
lot of touring around. So
Okay.
I have tons of backlog of stuff, trickles from the first owner, a lot from the second owner, and piles from the third owner of papers.
Gotcha.
The only thing I know for certain is
And
that
you are number 4, correct?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
is
Just to
that
clarify.
in 2002, the car, when it was purchased by the third owner, had a odometer that read 182,390 miles, but it had been stuck there since 99.
Damn.
So the car was driven a lot. You think 99, it's just 11 years old, and it's already almost at 200,000 miles. That's a pretty good run.
That's decent.
Yeah, about 20,000 average a year. It's pretty good.
So you mentioned that this car has had around 340K.
So-
Has the engine been opened?
Yes. So the
Okay.
bottom end, no. But it has had 2 head gaskets.
Okay. I wouldn't necessarily call that opening the engine.
No.
I mean,
It depends on your definition.
Blurred
By
lines.
Yeah.
At that mileage, that's considered regular maintenance.
Sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But it's not like you were, rod bearings went or, anything.
Nope.
They were through a rod or whatever.
From everything that I can see, the previous owner did plethoras of suspension work, patched some rust in the body, a bunch of different things.
Okay.
He had the head gasket done and the intake port and polished and a few
Nice.
small things.
Nice.
But the bottom end was never touched. The second owner before him had done the transmission. So it is on its second transmission, but only its second.
But the thing about these cars, though, is that their transmissions are very finicky and slightly fragile.
If you try to drive them like a Gavin, lovingly said,
I mean,
effectively, but it's not Gavin's fault. It's these transmissions.
yeah,
I will say that.
Let's rephrase that. If you haven't driven a car with a fragile gearbox, and then if you drive it,
Yes.
you're gonna have a bad time.
You are. So this car in particular, because of the interesting design of the gearbox, has a fragile gearbox.
Yeah, it's just the design.
Yeah. So the fragile gearbox has been done once, still is running good up until this point, and should be good for a while. So that car, as far as I can tell, the third owner estimates he put somewhere around 70K on it in the 14 years he owned it.
Okay.
And then I drove it all the way across the country, and it was my daily driver for about 1.5 years in between the Audi.
Right.
And only until about that 1.5 year point did I actually get an odometer in it that worked after going through 4 of them.
Jesus.
It's a very common failure point,
Okay.
obviously.
Clearly, yes.
So currently, I know I've put about 15,000 miles on it since I believe it would have been January of 2017. So since then, it has since slowed down because later, or just before that, in 2016, I bought the third car, which I still own, which is the Audi URS6, currently residing on jack stands in my garage.
That thing is so dope, though. It's so rad.
Yes, that's the car that actually me and Gavin met with because I showed up at where he used to work at IE.
Integrated Engineering.
Mm-hmm.
They had an open house for basically explaining to people, and it was kind of a class or a tutorial or a session or whatever of talking about VAGCOM and things regarding engine tuning, and they gave people tours through their through the workshop and through their machining and like all that stuff. And so at that time, I had recently quit Integrated to go work and chase a TV gig with Bitch and Rides and Fisher Productions. So I decided, hey, let's go back and visit the old stomping grounds at IE and like talk to Dave and Pete and just go hang out and have a good time. And then I meet Justin and his buddy Easton, both of which were wearing Easton had like slick back hair, and both of you were wearing like black leather jackets.
Yep.
So I'm like, and Justin couldn't keep his mouth shut. So,
Nope.
So one of them's like super talkative. I'm like, okay, all right, here we go. And then Justin brings up his S6. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. He's like, yeah, you want to take a drive? I'm like, okay. Sure, a 5-cylinder manual turbo in a sedan, like, fuck it. Yeah, why not? And so here we are, happily ever after.
I don't know about happily ever after, but
Here we are, ever after.
here we are now. So, with that car, after I bought that, obviously, even with how much I drive, 3 cars with mileage gets spread pretty evenly. So
Sure.
that's about the point that the Saab started to slow down a lot.
Well, yeah, and then when you put 45K on a Stinger in a year,
Yeah,
it doesn't exactly allow a whole lot of other time to be driving your other cars.
No, and so at that point,
But
I had
the Saab went under the knife pretty soon, or pretty shortly after I drove it, because that was in, December or so of 16.
It was December 16. Yep,
And then when we went on our little drive with the Outback and the UR up in Immigration,
that was like February.
January or
I think.
February, somewhere around there. And then pretty shortly after that is where you started dismantling suspension and taking that apart.
I binned it. Long story short, into
Sure.
a curb, and
That's your story, not mine.
yeah, the long story short of that is messed up 2 corners, went around a corner too fast, snap oversteer, hit a curb with the right front.
I saw you fighting it, though. You were definitely fighting it, and then just like 1, 2, 3, and then in this part of Immigration, you traveled through about 3 feet of snow.
Oh no! You're talking about the UR. I'm talking about
Yes.
the Saab. Is when I binned
You're
it.
talking about the Saab, yes.
Yeah, because you were just mentioning the Saab in February when we went.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Because it was only 2 months after that is when I binned it with.
Oh,
the K,
no. Well, okay, so we went through Mormon Flats
with the Saab and
with the Saab, and then the next day we went through Monte Cristo.
and that's where the catalytic converter almost caught fire because the
Yes.
coil
It was
lead.
actually glowing red. It was actually red.
Yeah, I had that problem one time on my B5 before.
Well, the funny thing was that the coil,
That's why I got rid of it.
All that happened was
a lead just got loose, and
Yeah.
so one of the cylinders wasn't necessarily firing the way it should, and then all that fuel that was going into that cylinder got caught in the cat, and then heated up, and
Started doing night.
and this is a road with there is no pull off points. It is road.
there's
So,
no pull-off points, and there's a lot of uphill, increasing load.
yes.
Talking about Monte
constant
Cristo?
load. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually the main coil lead, so it was all cylinders.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And so all that fuel at full throttle just went straight down, and then I smelled burning, looked down, oh shit, it's red, and started throwing snow at it.
Right.
So anyways, just after that, there's actually there's 3 different incidents that happened within 6 months of each other that I'm going to mention right here with these 3 cars.
Okay.
So, October of 2016, I totaled the Audi S6 on a deer.
Yes.
And I ended up buying a parts car. Miraculously, there's only around 1,000 of those in the United States as well. So miraculously, a parts car in the same color, same year, ended up in Salt Lake with a blown engine.
Huh.
And I just
Imagine the odds.
And I just needed body panels. So I bought it, took what I needed, rebuilt it, and got it done late April. But at that point, I owned the car outright. It all got paid off, and it was great because I didn't have a payment for it anymore. The one that I was talking about just a minute ago was we'll actually do the Audi one first, really quick, and then really the rest of my car history is pretty quick. In the Audi one, Gavin mentioned in Immigration Canyon, I spun out on bald tires and binned it into 3 feet of snow.
During a snowstorm, and you went through about 3 feet of snow, but the front end didn't even really lift that much.
No.
You just plowed and then stopped.
Yep.
And
So
I was following behind in my Outback.
yeah, luckily there was no ramifications with that.
No, you just plowed through snow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then
I've done that.
Yeah,
before.
Audis are good for that.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
I mean,
fantastic.
plowing in, handling, and also through snow.
Yes. Absolutely.
And then the third one was riding around with a friend on the Saab, and I mixed up 2 corners, had some snap oversteer happen, and
Okay.
took out the right front on a curb and had to rebuild that for a couple months.
Yeah.
So got all of those things rebuilt. Right now, the Audi is still currently under suspension rebuild because 170,000 miles in 20 years, all the rubber's gone. So that's currently
even when
being
I
going.
drove it before you binned it,
It was still having...
It was kind of unhappy. I drove it on State Street, and then I drove it in a square effectively, just to feel a 5-cylinder with a manual and a sedan. It's like, oh, this is cool.
Yep. So it'll be there with Bilsteins and lowering springs, lots of other good stuff here shortly.
Yeah.
But
awesome.
So fast forward to 2017, that's where I bought my next car, which was the Stinger. I traded
You bought it in 18.
Sorry, 18.
18.
Mm-hmm. I bought it in
February 27th.
Yep, exactly. Oh wow, you actually remembered the date.
I know.
It's
Well,
like I talked about it a lot.
Well, you talked about it a lot, and it was the same day Donnie got his Miata.
Yep.
I've told other people this story before.
So yeah, that's when I traded the S6 in as effective down payment for the Stinger and started the charade with the Stinger, put 45,000 miles on it in a year and 2 months before I traded it in for my Tacoma. I still have the Saab. I still have the Audi URS6.
That's okay to have the rotating car.
The rotating daily, quote
The rotating
unquote.
daily is a modern car, and that's fine. And the cars that are solid and concrete in your collection or in your arsenal, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Those are 80s and 90s rad era vintage now.
Yep, exactly. And so that's what brings us to today, May 5th, when I bought the Tacoma, which is still good. I actually just passed 11,000 miles on it today.
11,000 miles. Today is August 19th as of this recording.
So literally 4.5 months.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Not bad.
Not quite as much as the Stinger, but pretty good.
Yeah.
And you bought it brand new.
May
Brand
5th,
new.
brand new. Yep.
With how many miles? Like 5?
It was like 5, yep.
It actually, yes.
It was like 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we put the first 100 miles on
So
it.
they
which was a
literally
different
just
story.
rolled it onto the trailer and rolled it off is basically what those miles were. And
Basically. And-
running it around the block to make sure it was like
Well, and then the
okay.
day you got it, we made our off-roading video.
Yep, exactly.
And that was the day he got the truck
Oh god. Okay.
That was the day.
and put scratches in it.
Yep, it was great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's just brush scratches. They came right out.
Brush
So-
scratches, and they're also the paint is that tan color.
Yeah.
It's not going to
You
show
won't
scratches.
show a
or-
damn thing.
Yeah,
No,
nothing.
it's fantastic. Even when it's dirty, you can't even tell unless you look at the wheels and tires.
Or like the plastic surrounds
because the
that go
car
around.
is dirty.
Yeah, the car is dirt color. Oh yeah, it's great.
It is dirt. It is
Yeah.
sand. Actually,
Yeah,
I think it's the
sand,
name.
my bad.
Yes.
Or desert tan or
Or
whatever, you want
whatever
to call it.
marketing bullshit.
Yeah.
So, in conclusion, pretty much, I did mention at the beginning of this podcast, out of those cars, the only two that I would really want back, despite the fact that I love the 2003 S6, I would want the 91 220 valve back, hands down. I should have never gotten rid of it because I didn't even get much money out of it. And hands down, when I get the chance, when I'm more financially stable after the business grows a little more, I will begin a hunt to find that Stinger.
Well, and the funny thing is, I can see why you'd want to get the 200 back. Partially because of nostalgia. It's also a car with just a bunch of characters, and it's quirky and niche, and it's very you.
And it's also very not expensive. It'd be fairly cheap.
Sure. The Stinger, on the other hand, is such a fucking great car. Everyone here at this table can attest to this.
Absolutely.
In one form or another. It's such a fantastic, does everything so well. It's shocking, frankly.
Yes, especially for that car. And so when it comes time, I will begin hunting for that car. Not
Yes.
another Stinger, that car.
The same Stinger.
So that's actually what I was just going to ask. I was like, okay, well, you put all these miles on this car and you've gotten to know this car and whatnot. So I understand. I totally get that. I understand that.
Yep.
But why not just buy at that when it comes time to that you're ready to get a Stinger or that Stinger again? When it comes time for that, why not just buy another Stinger that has the same, if not less miles than what you purchased your other one for?
It's the significance to Justin as a person.
That was
Right.
my first new car.
I mean,
and that's a pretty big first new car.
I mean,
Oh, yeah,
I also
absolutely.
kind of want to find my old Outback XT. I took a picture of the VIN. I have the VIN number. I could find it if I wanted to.
Ironically, I still have a second set of keys to my old Stinger, so
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go around car parks if I see a red Stinger and just start
That's
clicking.
great.
Yeah, I mean, I
That-
hope he's
that-
not
that's-
listening.
The main reason why that specific one is I put a lot of miles on it. It was my first new car. And I also kind of want to see, because when I traded it in, with the exception of some normal wear and tear from rock chips and a few other small incidents, the car, especially interior-wise, was immaculate.
Right.
Well, it's
And
because it's also owned by you.
Yeah.
And what I want to see is, let's say it's been a year or two since I traded it in and got rid of it. I want to see what wear has occurred under like a more normal ownership standpoint.
Right. So, 45,000 miles in 14 months. We'll see if maybe 10,000 has been put on in a year, or 24,000 miles has been put on in 2 years. And then you get to see like, oh, well, these are, wearing out, or this is fading, or whatever.
Which is kind of what I wanted to do with the car to begin with.
You wanted to have
Right.
it for 5 years and drive it to 250K.
Yeah,
Yes.
Was
because
the goal.
I remember the first video that you guys did, and you're like, okay, half of this series is going to be going over like the life of this car.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
And that was still the plan up until the end, up until I realized I needed a truck and it needed to be a new
For
one.
detailing things.
Yeah.
And
So if you need a detail, hit up Justin at Chaos Theory on Instagram and on Facebook, or Justin McIntyre on Facebook.
and I'm more than glad to do anything. Boats, trucks, planes, automobiles, I don't give a shit as long as it's got
Planes,
paint.
Planes, trains, automobiles.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I think that's a great
What
place
about
to...
UFOs?
Are you going to storm Area 51? That's like coming up, dude.
This is,
That's like...
this is confidential.
Isn't
I
that
can't talk
tomorrow?
about this on air.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that actually when this podcast drops?
Dude, I don't know.
I don't
haven't
even
been
know.
following
I think it's
this,
September
like,
20th.
This is just so ridiculous. I'm
Oh, it
just
is.
Like, oh my god.
Anyways, I think that's a great place to put a pin in this one for now.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you all for listening to Exhibition to Speed podcast. If you want to find our video reviews, we are on YouTube. We have a Focus RS video coming up shortly. And if you want to follow myself, I am gp.media on Instagram. Justin is Chaos Theory, and Jordan is Desjardins Designs on Instagram.
Good luck spelling that or figure out how to.
Oh no, I'll put a link in the episode for sure.
I was like,
And,
most people can't figure that shit out. So
Cool. Well, until so this has been your Tuesday episode. We'll talk to you tomorrow about not car things. And until then, I've been Gavin.
I've been Justin.
I'm still Jordan.
You're still Jordan.
Still Jordan.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll see y'all later. Okay,
Bye.
bye.